Welcome to another episode of Return to the Inner Child podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Lucy Ivanecki. Welcome to the family and community. I'm blessed to be part of this journey with all of you. Today on the podcast, we have a really cool guest, Lamar Smith. Lamar is a financial strategist, business owner, and author of the book Jack of All Trades, Rise of a Party Promoter. Lamar, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Let's get right into it. What made you most proud of yourself this week?
Honestly, please, this may sound cliche, but I got some really good sleep last night, which is needed because sometimes I don't sleep as well as I would like because I get up early in the morning and I usually go to sleep pretty late. Yeah, so just feeling more recharged today, getting up early, getting some stuff done. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, sleep is so important. And it's definitely overlooked in being healthy and maintaining well-being for sure. So that is definitely important. Let's get into the topic of happiness. What does happiness mean to you?
I would say for me, happiness is about being fulfilled. And as someone who is intrinsically motivated, someone who's always been ambitious, I think sometimes people can tie happiness to simply, I have to be achieving this type of goal. I have to be making this much money in business or personal income. But if you strip all of that, do you still have some type of purpose, right? So for me, is happiness a lot of times comes from looking at a glass half full. Because if you look at a glass half full, you'll look at all the things that are happening in your life that you truly can be thankful for, which I think in turn provides happiness. So I think happiness has a very close tie juxtaposition to gratitude. I think when you're not within gratitude is when people tend to not be as happy. And I think that even when you are going through tough moments in life or things not be going your way, fully being tapped into gratitude is how you lead back into and start to slowly become happier.
What is your daily practice, or do you have a daily practice of gratitude? How do you show gratitude each day?
There's certain routines I have. I don't think I have a routine as far as gratitude, though I probably could definitely implement one. For me, it's just really those tight moments or finer moments when I'm home alone, which is all the time because I live alone. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, hey, I'm not where I want to be yet, but I've come so far, like, so far. And there's beauty in that. When I first started in business, I was 24, fresh out of grad school, and didn't know anything about money. Only thing I knew about life in college. And now I can say I'm a lot more well read. I think about things a lot more intuitively. I've learned things about sales, business, people, which is just saying a lot because of all the things I experienced even before that point. And I can still feel like I've grown so much. And I just think to myself, like, hey, it's not about if, it's about when. So it will happen in due time. I just gotta keep putting the work in, keep being consistent, let efforts compound, and when it happens, just like anything else I've ever accomplished, I'll be able to say like all of it was worth it.
Mentioned just a minute ago about fulfillment. Like, what's the difference for you between happiness and fulfillment?
They're closely tied, but they have different layers. I feel like happiness, it can be both short term and long term. I think fulfillment could be more short term and both short term and long term. But I think typically fulfillment is linked to more of a long term concept conceptually. I think happiness without fulfillment is short term momentary happiness. Like the happiness someone gets when they get something for free. And then fulfillment is more so like the long term happiness a mother has when she gives birth. Like in the short term, she was all of the things. But once she's holding that baby in her arms forever until one of them, is no longer with us, not to be morbid, she'll always be able to have that special moment and forever be a mother. Doesn't mean that everything's gonna be perfect, doesn't mean everything's gonna go her way, but she'll always be a mother, and she just created someone, hopefully special and a great member of society. But it's a different level of fulfillment. I don't think anything else can give a parent.
Yeah, there's definitely more of contentment or long-term happiness. And I like what you said too about celebrating the small wins. How do you celebrate the small wins? Do you celebrate the small wins in your life? What does that look like for you?
I do it pretty frequently. It just I don't may not have like a full blown party for it. Uh, but I think every moment is important, especially in business. For example, before this call, we've been talking about heavily about social media prospecting. Me and a bunch of other members of leadership in our organization. One of the brokers I know, she was like, "Hey, I just got my first business partner through social media." Because we all been talking heavily about branding on social media, how to find your target market, what is really not only going to speak to your quote unquote tribe, but how you can humanize yourself more than just someone in business through social media. So I was like, dang, that's dope. Sarah's her name. I was like, hey, that's dope, Sarah. And then also I shared, I'm like, hey, I booked a call with a doctor early this morning. And she's not a part of my team as of yet, or who knows what's going to come from that, right? Every conversation matters, but that's still a big deal because that's still a result, even if it's a micro result of everything that we've been putting into like supporting one another, taking the principles we've been taught, and putting those things into practice. It's really just enjoying every step of the journey is how I look at it. So it's usually just like a little hurrah, like, hey, I just did that, or hey, I just booked a follow up appointment with somebody, or hey, I just closed that deal. That's usually it's like a internal thing. Sometimes you'll get external praise for it, but that's usually how I go about celebrating little wins most of the time.
Yeah. Well, I like that. Yeah, it's important to celebrate the small wins because you enjoy the journey more, and enjoying the journey is part of the fulfillment too. So it's not just getting to the destination of where we want to be because you know how it is. Where as soon as we achieve one thing, we're already looking at the next goal, trying to hit that one. So it's important to stop every now and then and um, look how far we've come. Let's get into finances and how you got into becoming a financial strategist. Where did that interest start?
Candidly, it was never an interest, like not at all. I don't think anyone grows up and is like, I want to be a financial strategist or professional or advisor. If they do, they're in a very minute group. It was just one of those things where a good friend of mine at the time, she was in marketing. She had a colleague of hers that also did social media marketing, but he also was licensed in financial services. So specifically in this case, like life and health insurance. And he was ironically, like doing his own form of social media prospecting. She didn't know because she's only focused on like helping build businesses, their pages, etc. Um, and he was like, "Hey, who is someone that you know that has one, two, three, four, five traits?" And I just so happened to be someone that came to mind. She introduced me to him. He zero sales background, any of that. So I'm green as a forest tree. Same cool. I really am someone that if I think highly of someone from a sales perspective, you could really do a good job of borrowing credibility to that person for me to like you. Now, a little bit less now because I know what I know, but at that time, that mattered a lot. We hopped on a Zoom call the following day because we only spoke for like an hour or two, like via IG DMs that night before we met, and we just talked about business, but we also talked about like what I want to do long term. And for me, even though I don't talk about it as much on my page, it was building, a strong infrastructure surrounded by my book. So writing other books, possibly turning my book into a movie, and just really diving deeper into the creative side of myself. Like that is what lights me up, right? So I thought about it. I was like, in order to do that, and in order to really, really take off in that area of space, it'd be cool to fund it myself. Obviously, not every single project I'm gonna fund myself, but I think when you can create without mental constraints financially, it's very freeing. And that was the dream he sold to me. I bought it. And I think also I looked at it on the flip side as an opportunity because I don't know if you experienced this, but I experienced this. Coming out of college, it's like they tell you everything that you aren't. You're applying for jobs, and in my case, I had two journalism degrees, both from two prestigious universities when it comes to journalism. And all you get told is, no, you don't have enough experience. No, you're not old enough. You got close to the type of background that we're looking for, but just not quite. Oh, you have this, and this, but you don't have that one thing. And no matter how good you do an interview, how many you don't, how good you answer certain questions, like you just keep hitting your head up against this wall. And for me, even though the frustration wasn't super big, it was enough where I was like, man, I'm tired of feeling like this. Like I can only imagine how many other people with my credentials, with my skill set, with my talents feel like this. So if they're telling me they'll teach me all the finance stuff and they'll give me a shot, why not try it out? Like I have nothing to lose. Like I knew these things about myself. I'm coachable. I pick up things quick. I don't have a quitter's mindset. I don't think I've ever quit anything in my life willingly, and I only say willingly because my mom made me quit my varsity basketball team. But that's a story for a different day. But I'm just someone that sticks with it, and I think I didn't know it at the time, but now that I know, the biggest trait more than anything is sticking with it in business. There's some people that they're not the smartest, not the fastest, they don't have all the skills, but you just stick with something long enough, you almost get good by accident. And I say that almost like jokingly, but there's some truth to that, right? So I took a stab at it and I've been enjoying it since.
Yeah, what do you find most fulfilling about finances and being a financial strategist?
So I guess what I find most fulfilling is just seeing how I can impact others. And I think it first went from my head to my heart once the people that became my clients were some of the people that were closest to me. So, for example, when my mom became my client, or one of my best friends from college. Funny enough, the DJ that helped me throw parties in college is one of my clients. It was actually one of my first clients, right? And then I would say, like, each moment, each person, it just only amplifies. It's a saying, and it may sound cliche, but it's the truth. And I feel like anyone in business, anyone in ever any level of entrepreneurship or self-employed, you'll know what I mean by this. Your clients will become friends quicker than your friends will become clients. And I don't know why. It makes zero sense. You would think that the people closest to you want to support you. And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't, right? But I think part of it is, I think when people have a certain level of proximity to you, they have like a mental blinder on where they're like, they only see your identity as this one thing. Where people who don't know you, or people that know you, but you're not super close, they see you more multifaceted as a human. They see you, which is crazy to think about. So, perfect example, one of my clients, she's a nurse. We actually met in person only one time. It's one of the rare times that I went out to the bars in Arizona. And this was like, I want to say 2021, 2022. Follow each other on Instagram. Casually, we would speak here and there over the time. So last year, I threw a virtual event. This virtual event was just basically geared towards corporate professionals, talking about finances. And then I had some mentors of mine also be on the virtual webinar as well. She was one of like 40 people that showed up. And she was like, yeah, I never knew you did this. Like, I knew you were in finances because I messaged you about it a long time ago. This is super intriguing. Like, how could I get a financial plan, etc. with you? Then not only did we do her financial plan or whatever, and so officially, technically speaking, she became my client in October. In the almost 6 months that she's been my client, she's probably given me more referrals than like 80% of clients I currently have. We talk consistently. She is constantly, mentioning my name in rooms, etc. And like genuinely, like we've built this friendship where like we talk about stuff that has nothing to do with anything half the time. All right. And it's cool because you would have never thought that this person that I randomly met, I never thought this would be a business partner or this would be, even in this instance, right, a client. But now, not only she's a client, we're friends, and we have this cool relationship as a result of this experience. And I think that's the beauty of what I do. And this is probably gonna be one of hundreds or thousands of stories. Like once I'm in this business, 10 years, 15 years, however. But that just shows you the power of just talking to many people as possible. Being able to help people in different ways. And she's a testament to that. So those type of moments, even if someone tells me no, even if I hit my head against the wall, even if I have a slow month, that type of stuff is what gives me fulfillment.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I've noticed that too, like myself, that your clients will support you even more than people that you know. Yeah, I mean, we touched on it a little bit, but yeah, this is something I've been reflecting on myself lately. Why do you think that is, that strangers sometimes will be more supportive of your creative pursuits than our friends or people that we know?
I mean, I really think it goes back to what I said about the mental blockers, right? So I could be wrong, so you might have to fact check me, but I'm pretty sure this is the term for it. There's something called a, I think it's called a cognitive bias. So, like, how you meet someone says a lot to how you view them. In not all cases, but in a lot of cases, right? So we can compare, like, I'll bring up like three random friends of mine, right? So one of my friends, Noah, who also ironically is a client, me and Noah are pretty close. We're not even that far in age, right? But when Noah met me, my first year in grad school, I actually reached out to some of his friends in order to become their coach, right? Because they had a club basketball team at ASU to become their coach. Now, I think Noah and I's relationship would have been fine regardless because we're both pretty like minded and we just naturally mesh, which is saying a lot because not a lot of people you just naturally mesh with, and we're both like very chill, but also very alpha in personality. So it's funny how we don't really butt heads like most people would think. But I think the fact that when he met me as a coach, like as a leader, so like cognitively, it would be hard for the rest of our relationship for me to shed that identity in some form, right? So obviously, I've still had that in multiple different positions since us being first meeting, but I think that is a natural cognitive bias, right? A cognitive bias for one of my friends, Big John. So Big John, when he met me, I was the guy that threw parties. Everyone on campus viewed me as the guy that threw parties. Even when I went to grad school, and it's not intentional, people just assumed that I was going to throw parties in grad school. And it took him a minute, as well as a lot of people a minute, to allow me to relinquish that identity because they had a cognitive bias of how they met me. And then to go back to that client, that nurse, Hawa, even though you would think that she would have the cognitive bias because she met me in a crowded bar, whole bunch of stuff going on that night. When she follows me on Instagram, what does she see everything on my page? Shit, book author, etc. So even though we weren't talking on a regular basis, her cognitive bias or her identity is more closely linked to that than anything because that's how I portray myself on a consistent basis. So all three different buckets, right? But it also has to do with the manner in which they met me. Now, love all these people, nothing against any of them, but to use this as an example as well, Noah's my client, Big John's not my client, Hall's my client. It says it all.
Yeah, I think you're right about that too. It's the way that they perceive your identity, and it's hard to shake it once, especially someone who's known you for a while. It's hard for them to recognize that you have like another identity forming or you're changing yourself somehow. Whereas like someone meeting you for the first time, like they have no preconceived notion of you and they don't know your past. So this version of you is what they know. So yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah, let's get into what kind of business you have and how you became a business owner.
So my business and finances, it's really right now the core of my business is insurance. So life insurance predominantly. Now, outside of that, like we help people with multitude of different things, right? So, like some of it is like debt management, right? Some of it is because I don't have the licenses yet, I do plan on getting it. I have some clients that do have securities business and things like that where their investments are getting managed, but I usually refer them to one of my colleagues who has all those licenses already. Right. So because I have these network of people, other professionals I work with, even for things that I'm not currently licensed to do at the moment, like I always have someone that I can leverage. That way the client gets help to the utmost, right? So we have this saying in business, mission over commission, right? If you focus on the mission, like, the commissions will follow, all right? Even if it's the difference of, you know, client says that they want to save $500, but instead of making them save $500, you're like, based off of what I'm seeing, based off of what you're telling me, how about you put 300 to this and then put the other 200 in like liquid savings? Because you are saving some, but you still need to beef up your savings more, right? Yes, that has less commission for me because me telling them to put it in like a high yield savings account, I have zero monetary like profit from that, right? Versus like in insurance policy. But that's the best for their particular situation, right? So keeping that stuff in mind, and then far as like from building a business aspect, I'm always learning, right? So our organization, how we're set up, even though I'm in business for myself, I'm not by myself. So I have mentors where every single day I send them accountability. So I'm like, hey, these are many calls I booked, this is how much business I wrote, you know, these are such and such conversations I had, this is how many calls I made. Because it's not for them, it's for myself. Because if I'm not tracking these things, I don't know how I'm improving. As well as like we have like sales academies. So every quarter there's a different academy and you get to compete with a lot of your peers and you can be collaborative and still competitive because even though we're competing in all these different classes, if I have an appointment and I can't run it because I'm too busy, like they're not going to be like, oh, run that appointment because I'm not getting anything out of it, right? It's not how we operate. And then after 3 months of doing all these crazy activities, you know, hitting these different milestones, then they all organize for us to go on a cool retreat. So, for example, in October, I went to Puerto Rico. In February, I didn't qualify for this one, but they went to the Bahamas on a cruise. I did qualify for this one. So we have a Dominican Republic trip this, and it's like 3 weeks from now? Yes, dang, it's like 3 weeks from now. And it's just always something different and cool. And since everything is virtual, it's really cool to have those one-on-one experiences in person and build those type of relationships and interact in a different way. And even sometimes randomly retreats will do like team building exercises. So yeah, it's been fun.
Nice, nice. And yeah, so you mentioned about mission. What's the mission of your business? Would you say?
So it may sound cheesy, but the slogan is "No family left behind." So the way we look at it is that this is nothing against these organizations, but we're just calling a spade a spade. When you look at Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, a lot of traditional, you know, investment companies or financial companies, their target market is people that have 250K or more in liquid assets, right? And that's just on the low end. And then also because they're targeting these type of individuals, if you don't meet that threshold, you don't get serviced. So my family is not from that. So I wouldn't have gotten service. So we do have clients that fit that bucket, but we do also have clients that single mom of three, right? Single dad of two, right? Nurse. Then you have like two income households with, house, multiple kids. So they come from all different walks of life. And because they're getting the same type of knowledge that the rich or the well off were already getting, it helps us level the playing field. Because a lot of people financially, they would do a lot better if they knew what to do. So let's scratch off the fact that not having the money and not having the resources, but not even having the knowledge to begin with is a huge problem. Now, let's say you give them the knowledge, and then you help them and teach them and show them how to put the principles in place, and they take action. Over the long term, they're going to be better off.
Yeah, that's for sure. And yeah, what would you say is the most surprising thing you've come across where people didn't know to do XYZ in their finances? What's very important to get people started, I guess, in their finances if they have no knowledge?
They have no knowledge. I don't want to get super in the weeds because I don't want to turn it into a finance episode. So if someone wants to get even in the nitty gritty, they can always reach out. But I would just try to keep it as in layman's terms as possible. I think everyone should kind of structure it like this. There's three different types of way that money grows. Fixed is just stagnant, like a bank account. Variable goes up, but it also can go down, right? So it's high risk, high reward. And then there's this special subgroup called indexing. So your money can grow a lot, but you also get a cap on how much that you can earn on an investment, and then you don't lose any money at all. I think people should have money in all three, right? Just like how people should have money in each of the three different tax boxes. And a lot of times people don't know about the three ways money can grow or the three tax boxes. Usually they know one or two. I rarely see where they know all three, right? So I would say having your money to spread against all three. How much money you should allocate to each one really kind of depends on your financial situation. And I would say the biggest three things that someone should be taking advantage of in their financial situation. And let's say this person is a high level corporate professional. They've been with their company, let's say 6, 7, 8 years, right? I think they should have some type of life insurance policy, whatever type. What more matters is that you have it and that it is the best for your situation, right? Whoever you need to consult to make that determination, so be it, but the best for your specific situation. Second thing I would say is someone would need to have a high yield savings account because when it comes to finances, most people have all their money in just a regular bank account, and most of them don't earn enough interest to keep up with inflation. So most high yield savings accounts are going to come with enough interest to at least help you break even in most years. And then I would say the third thing is, and this is just to keep it like minute since I've used threes all across as far. The third one would be if you have a retirement plan at work, make sure that you're fully utilizing it, right? Especially if you know that you're going to stay with that company a long period of time, I would say it'd be good to utilize it. So if that company matches, I wouldn't put more than the match. The money that you don't put to match it, I would put somewhere else that's going to grow. And I would say the last thing is, if you don't know about compound interest, I would definitely learn about it, because your understanding of compound interest is going to help a lot with your financial situation, because it impacts not only the money that you have and how it grows, but also impacts your debt. I would say that would be super, super, super duper crash course. I don't want to bore anybody, anything like that, but I would say that's some main things that you need to know foundationally. And then the rest, like, I would just seek out somebody for assistance or for a deeper talk, to be honest.
Yeah, that's for sure. And like, what would you say is like a common mistake you've come across that like people make in their finances? I feel like you
I
might have
was
touched on it, but yeah, if you could go in more detail.
I would say the common mistake a lot of times comes from the interest standpoint. So a lot of people don't understand how interest is playing into their finances, right? So it hits all the facets that I've already discussed, far as how you're saving your money, how your money's growing, how much debt you're accumulating. If you don't understand the power of interest in all those three areas, you can put yourself in a really bad spot financially. Like if your credit isn't that great, but you're taking out a bunch of loans that are 18%, 23%, 27%, you're going to always be in debt. If you're putting all your money in the bank that you do save, you're never going to outpace inflation. After a year or two, the money that you have there is going to be losing money, because it's not going to be worth the same as today's dollar, because that's just how inflation works every year. All right. And then, far as like growing your money, when you do put money into things, if everything that you have that's working for you is growing 3-4%, it's better than if it was gaining 1%. It's still going to take forever. If you want financial freedom, if you want to put yourself in a better position, like, you do want to maximize your earning potential where your money is making money. And that all comes about how you strategize and how you attack that has a lot to do with understanding compound interest.
I mean, your money loses value um, if it's just sitting at home or in the bank because of inflation, that's for sure. But it is also difficult too for those people who are living paycheck to paycheck to invest their money.
I mean, I think it is difficult, but I think it's more difficult if you don't start trying to develop a habit. So people look more at the amount, but don't look at the habit. So, perfect example, if you know that you're someone that has trouble saving money, or everything that you're using, you're blowing, an easy step in order to combat that is when you set up direct deposit, or if you already have direct deposit set up for your job, I would change it, where part of the money goes towards your checking account and part of it goes to a savings account. And ideally, if possible, have them be two different institutions. That way, you're not trying to pull money from one account to go to another. Right? So even if you do that, it makes it harder, because you're like, oh, I'm gonna have to wait a business day or two, etc. Right? So you're forcing discipline on you. I would say the 80-20 rule is a good point to start off at. But if you can't do the 80-20 rule, have it be something. Like, if you get paid every week, say, hey, I don't care if this may sound bad, but I don't care if I have to pay later towards some debt, or I don't care if I have to miss going out to get drinks with the gals or whatever. I'm gonna save $50 this week. I don't care how. I'm gonna save $50 this week, and don't touch it. Treat it like it's not there. Put it in an account that you don't touch on a regular basis, and boom, you're gonna be better off long term. Because once you have those habits and those principles, then you start taking on that identity. Instead of having scarcity, like, hey, I don't have enough money, I have to work paycheck to paycheck, etc. If your job offers overtime, hey, maybe that means you need to do overtime, a couple hours here and there a week. And you say to yourself, hey, I'll spend all the rest of my paycheck on bills and going out, whatever. But all the overtime money, that's the money that I'll save this week. All right. It's about creating those habits. A great book for habits, I would say, is Atomic Habits by James Clear. I would say another good book far as for money habits would be what's it called? I think it's called Millionaire Year by Rachel Rodgers. Might be butchering the title, but I know it's by Rachel Rodgers. So a lot of that stuff is all mindset, all habits.
Yeah, you're right about that. It is the abundance mindset and building good financial habits and smart financial habits too. Let's move on to your author journey. What was your why for writing the book?
I would say my why was really just I was watching a video by Gary Vee, and I was coming from the gym. This was like late June 2019. It's 2019. Gary Vee said something like, hey, if you're from 22 to 30, you have all the time possible to make whatever mistakes that you make, to take whatever risks that you want to take. Like, he made a joke, even though I know he's probably serious. You and 4 or 5 buddies, live in an apartment in New York, eat ramen noodles all day and pursue your dreams. I was like, I'm 22. I'm not taking enough risk. Like, what can I do that is going to better myself long term that I'm not doing? And I thought about this conversation, ironically, I had with my barber a couple months prior. Was it a couple months prior? No, it was a year prior. And he was like, hey, you should write a book. I was like, me? Write a book? And he was like, yeah, you're, a young black guy from DC. You went to Kentucky. You graduated. Now you're moving out of state again to go to Arizona State. You know how many young dudes your age that would inspire? And I was like, dang, that's a good point. And then, ironically, I went back home, told my mom that, and what she said was, Lamar, you got a lot of time. Maybe you should do X, Y, and Z first before writing the book. So I said, all right, I won't write the book then. In this instance, I was like, you know what? I should write a book. Like, why not? Gary Vee's right. I don't know how all those 3 things linked up, but that's what came to mind. And then I thought to myself, I was like, I want to write a memoir. Like, I'm still pretty young. I've done some transformative things, but... So I was like, if I write a book, I want to write about something unique to me. Like, I want to write a story that you can poll every single person on this planet, but they wouldn't be able to tell the story how I could tell that story. So I said, what's unique to me? Like, what's a unique experience? And then, this may be TMI, so I don't want to go too deep in it, but I was standing in the shower, like those memes where the shower is hitting your head, you like that. And I was like, yo, I should write about when I was throwing parties. I was like, who else could write about that? All right. And then I thought to myself, too, I was like, well, there's some things that may or may not be said about when I was throwing parties. I was like, you know what? Let me fictionalize everything. Change all the names, change all the scenes up a little bit so they're not too spot on. I was like, I'm a creative person. That sounds like it'd be fun. So I said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fictionalize it, not only to protect the people that were in this story, but to protect myself. And then I called up one of my friends. Also, ironically, it was Noah. And I pitched an idea, and he loved it. And we sat on the phone for an hour and started coming up with some of the names, etc. And I said, hey, that's the book I'm gonna write. And every day that summer, from late June to up until a week before school started, I wrote. And by the week before one of my last semesters at ASU started, I had finished the first draft of the book. I said, my semester's gonna be busy. Like, I need to finish writing this before school starts. And I did. So that's really how the concept came up, and that's how the first manuscript came about before, I met NDP and all those things.
Okay, so then I guess the main character then is based off of you,
Yes.
right? Your life.
Yes.
Let's get into that. Like, why did you like to throw parties?
I mean, it's something that I never wanted to do. I tried my hardest to not do it. But it's like everyone kept pushing me. I basically got peer pressured into doing it, which is saying a lot because I'm not someone to subside to peer pressure, but I basically got peer pressure to do it. To leave a lot of details out, basically, we were in this guy's house late at night. He was talking about how he was new to the city. He wanted to throw parties, meet some more people. One of my friends suggested, hey, you know a lot of people, Lamar. You should help him throw a party. Like, he volunteered me in front of this guy while we're in his living room. And he was like, you know a lot of people? And yeah, he was like, you should help me throw a party. We exchanged numbers. And afterward, I told him, why would you ever volunteer me for such a thing? And he said, you're making a big deal out of nothing. You know a lot of people. It would be fun. You literally have been complaining for the last 2 weeks. And this was towards the beginning of my senior year, too. You said, if someone lets you throw a party, it would be amazing. Because all these parties that we go to suck. So you spoke it into existence, essentially. I was like, okay, I guess you got a point. So okay, well, I'll do it then. So, texted him, ended up throwing that first party. It went well. We threw it in his backyard. He was so hyped. He literally told everyone we're going to run it back tomorrow. So we threw a party Friday and Saturday. It went well. So we decided to throw another party. Threw another party a couple weeks later. That went well. And then we decided to throw a Halloween party that I promoted for pretty much 3 weeks. And that had a crazy turnout. The police got called, got shut down. We made a grand, split it 3 ways, and ever since that Halloween party, I basically was labeled the party guy. And I will say the thing that I liked about it, not just the money, was the fact that I was able to galvanize all these different groups of people at our school. Because historically, if you look at predominantly white institutions, if you think about parties, you got 2 buckets. Greek life, whether that be historically black fraternities or white fraternity sororities, and you have the bar scene. Everything else is like all over the place. It has no place in the world. Well, I said, I'm here. This is my spot at the table now. And I think the reason why it works so well, because don't get me wrong, other people have tried since I've left that school. I haven't heard glowing recommendations since, not even to toot my own horn, but just calling a spade, is because it truly fit the essence of my personality. For 4 years, I didn't even know it, but I essentially was cultivating all these different relationships with people. I had friends that were in sororities. I had friends that were in fraternities, mainly like the Divine Nine. I knew all the athletes because I was a sports reporter. And, when you're one of 3,000 or 4,000 black people, probably going to know a good majority of black people at the school. So I was able to connect with all these different demographics. And normally, they all would not be in the same room socially, especially for a house party. Maybe a bar, definitely not a house party. But from a branding standpoint, you think of the party, and who do you think of? Think of Lamar. That's the face, right? And you're like, well, I like Lamar. He's cool. I'll pull up. Now, a lot of people could be cool with those different types of people, but is their branding or their personality seen as inviting, right? Because some people will be cool with you, but they still may be like, they might be on the fence. But to me, what I learned over time is that says a lot about how people view me. Even if I didn't realize they view me like that, they're like, wow, like Lamar's cool, he's inviting. Like, even when I was charging people to come into these parties, they still felt like that, and they still felt the aura, the experience I was able to provide. Some people met that would have never met, but they all came because I was the guy throwing the party. So I think that's what I like more than anything. More than the money, more than the songs, more than seeing cute girls. I'm not gonna lie. But I was able to create experiences with people, meet people, and other people were able to meet people that otherwise wouldn't have been in the same experience, not even the slightest.
You're this like super connector. And that's cool. I can see too like how that helped you with your financial strategist career as well, because you like learned how to build connections through that experience, hosting the parties and like gathering people together and connecting people. Yeah, cultivate this skill just from something simple like hosting parties.
Yeah, who would have thought throwing a collegiate party would make such a big deal? But it's even funny, like, till this day, some of the people that I met, obviously a lot more when they were in college, but even to this day, they'd be like, dang, you used to throw some dope parties. Like, I remember when this happened or that happened. And I'm not a super duper reminiscing type of guy because I'm in an industry, I'm in a space in my life where I'm still looking forward and like, what's to come, what do I have to accomplish, etc. But it does feel cool that I was able to create some experiences for people that when they think about college, even if all these other things weren't the best for them, they can still really link those moments to their experience.
Yeah, that's for sure. Let's get into the book more. What would you say are like, the big themes in your book, and what is your book about?
So I would say it's about 70% what actually happened. The other 30% I definitely wrote for the plot. Um, it's about this sports writer that becomes a party promoter overnight, and he learns how to essentially be himself, but not just be himself, but he learns how to be a party promoter through a lot of the tools that he learned from being a journalist. All right. So it's about embracing your individuality. That's one of the main themes. And to true to yourself. And then also it's one of the themes that it's bigger overcast is the social dynamic at major universities between Greek life and non-Greek life. So it's like the haves and the have-nots. That's the term I was about to use. So you get to see all of this through Jack Onovan's lens. He's the reason why that's the name on my social media handle. It's been that way for who knows how long. Well, literally since I made the page, but was it like 7 years? Yes, going on 7 years. So yeah, it's been a pretty cool experience.
Okay, so tell me about your second book. Yeah, what the book is about, what it's called.
So my second book is actually called Jack of All Trades, The Jungle. So the reason why it's called Jack of All Trades, The Jungle is multifaceted. So one, it's based off of the title of a song of one of my friends because he has a song called The Jungle. But also it's like a double entendre because the jungle is supposed to be a metaphor for all the things you're going to see going on in this book. Like if you thought that the first book was messy, this book is pretty messy. So it's told through 4 point of views. So it's told through the point of view of Jack Donovan, the main character, because he moves to Miami Beach to become a club manager. So that's his first job out of college. Because he pivots instead of going to sports route. And then you have one of the D1 or in this case S1 players, Rodney, who's based off of one of my friends from DC. He's like this new recruit at this school that's near Jack Onovan's club, and he's a basketball player. And then he's trying to basically make his way to the pros. And then also his teammate, Noah, who is based off of my friend Noah in real life. And he's like jealous of Rodney because he's getting all the attention when he's been the star player, these past 3 years, and kind of that whole dichotomy of their relationship. And then the fourth perspective is my friend Chris, who inspired the title of my book. So him as a young college student, want to get into music, trying to make his way, trying to get big, and basically all four of these stories converge, right? So it's like, how do these four guys make it through the quote-unquote jungle together? And you get to see throughout the book how pretty much in all these different facets their lives like intertwine. And I also got to really get a little bit more heavy into like sports. That's still a big part of my identity. So there are some scenes of them at practice, them playing big games, and like the NCAA or that version, fictional version of the tournament, but all like building this high stress environment and saying, okay, can these guys make it out or not? And it's a sequel to the first book.
Nice. And yeah, what was the inspiration for writing the second book?
So I always wanted to do multiple books of Jack of All Trades. The current plan is to do 5 books. Hold up. No, technically 6. It's like 5, and then another one. I got a book idea about writing a book about spring break, about this one spring break trip I had in 2020, like right before COVID hit. In that storyline, or in this Jackoverse, as I like to call it, as I was thinking of what to make the second book about, I was thinking like, how could I make something as good as the original, which is hard, but also something that could keep the storyline progressing, where the ideas I had for like a 4th book, which is like the Jack Donovan documentary, and in the 5th finale book, like how could it naturally progress to get to that end of the road? And this just seemed like the most clear outcome. And because I'm someone that I enjoy making aspects of my real life into concepts, I think I was able to use some of the stuff that I've seen through partying in general in different states in this book. But also, even though I've never been to Miami Beach, which made this a lot harder to write than other books will be. I do know people from that area. I know what it looks like to be in an environment somewhat similar. And I think also my friend Chris, when he came out with that song Jungle, that's still to this day one of my favorite songs of his. And I was just listening to some of the references and I was like, dang, that kind of sounds like my book. So I openly asked him, I was like, hey, do you mind if like I name the sequel of my book this? And he was like, yeah, of course. So even in the book, you see like in real time lyrics from his actual songs in the book. So it's a way to really pay homage to a bunch of different people that have had positive impacts on my life. And I think The Jungle was just, there wasn't a more fitting title. And I think it will end up, as a result, being a real fun read for people.
I like that you're yeah, paying homage to like people around you and supporting your friends as well and their art through the book in that sense. And yeah, just want to know as well, like where are you in the process? So, when will your book be released?
So the goal is this year. I haven't set a date yet because I'm still editing. And to be very candid, I feel like Lil Wayne before he dropped the Carter Five, because I've been saying I was gonna drop this book for like 3 or 4 years now. Fun fact: after I wrote book one, and book one was officially like about to get published, I started writing book two October 2020. I finished writing the first manuscript of book one in the summer of 2021. I got honestly distracted with business. All these other life events happened. I was going through it. So I really just put it on the back burner. But I always knew that I was going to publish the book. And coming into this year, I was like, I gotta stop prolonging this. As much as I want it to be perfect, because when you're creative, you can have a little bit of perfectionist syndrome. I just gotta put it out.
Yeah.
Like, I need to share this story. I think the goal of this book is a lot different than the first one. The first one, I had this grandeur of I'm gonna be a bestseller. I'm gonna sell all these volumes. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And I'm gonna be this big speaker, etc. I think going through that first experience and all the stuff that I've experienced since is like really humanized me from a creative standpoint. And I really, it could sell 10 copies, which I doubt it would, but I just really want to get the story out there. I know there's people that have been asking me about this book for a long time, and I just want to keep the word to not only to them, but to myself. And I'm in the editing phase for the first time in a long time. Every weekend, I would say once or twice a weekend, I go through and I edit the book, which is a lot for me because at first I wasn't looking at this at all. And I'm now at the standpoint where I've finished the initial edit from the suggestions I got from my original editor on book two. And I'm going back and rereading and just making sure the proofreading makes sense. I think there's one chapter that I actually do have to write because it just will fill the gap in the story. Like I thought I was gonna have 36 chapters, but no matter how many times I go back and forth, I kind of have to write this chapter to make it as cohesive as I want it to be. But outside of that, I would think this last round of edits, I'll probably pay like editor to do like marketing and revision edits, and then after I do their edits, I'll have a proofreader. I'll pay a cover designer, and I'll just publish it. That's the process I'm thinking of. Still a couple steps left. Made a lot of headway, to be fair, but I think that's what I envision. I think likely we're looking at probably towards the end of 2026, but I don't care. I just have to make it happen. It's just the longer I sit on this, it just like eats at me.
That's a good goal, and yeah, I wish you all the best in publishing the second book. I'm sure it's gonna go well. So, yeah, you're doing great.
Appreciate it.
Let's get into talking about childhood now. I want to know, how would you describe yourself as a child?
I would say I was a character. I would say if I was a kid during all these things that are going on now, I could have messed around and had my own TV show. Like I was that funny of a kid naturally. And I'm not saying that to gas myself up, but I just used to do things and my mom tells me these stories and I vaguely remember some of these things. She used to be like, that Lamar. I was a very happy kid. I was very inquisitive. I really just beat to my own drum. More than most kids, I was very comfortable in my own skin, but in a like very curious, confident type of way. And when I say the confidence coming from that I thought highly of myself, and I would say the curious way is that I was always open to new ideas and new experiences, and I wasn't very rigid on a lot of beliefs, which I think is what helped me grow through all these different facets of my life. So I remember there was times where I was playing on the playground. And my mom would come up to me. I'm 5, 6 years old. And she's like, "Who's that kid?" And I'm like, "I don't know, mom." She was like, "Huh?" She's like, "You literally have been playing with him for 30 minutes. You do not even know his name?" We just playing Power Rangers. And my mom used to just be like, that Lamar. And I never thought about it until she started telling me a lot of these stories as I'm 16, 17, 18, in my 20s. And it really says a lot to the man I've become and the man I'm continuing to become because, I mean, this may sound overly confident, but it's the truth. If I had that type of magnetic personality, even as a child, me becoming a party promoter, me getting in business, me and being as social as I am, it was pretty much inevitable. It's like there are certain things naturally that I had about myself and how I interacted with people where they felt comfortable regardless of how they met me, where they met me at, etc. And it was also cool because it put me in a position where I think all kids can say this, and I really mean all kids can say this, but as my parents were young parents, people that they didn't know anything about parenting or life, neither did I. We really learned from each other, and I would say our relationship, I think my siblings are jealous, even though I love them. We have a very one-of-one experience because of that. All right. My dad learned a lot about being a man, not from anyone else except for helping raise a son. My mom learned how to be a better mom through raising me, and different little things like me sneaking up in the middle of the night to watch the NBA finals. And my mom knew the whole time because she could see the light underneath my door. But she's like, she's not bothering nobody. Let me just let him watch the game. Or my dad listening to me in the back of my grandma's car. I forget what it was. Like, I think it was like a red Bentley or something like that, like a maroon Bentley, some type of drop top, and me singing Drew Hill at the top of my lungs. And he's like, he's 4 years old. How in the world does he know all these lyrics to Beauty? stuff like that is like, I feel like warmed them in a way that I think most kids warm their parents' hearts. And I think as they got older, they were a lot nicer to my siblings. And also, I think we really have, as much as this a father son, mother son relationship, like we are in a weird, maybe it's a weird way to say this, like friends. And they parent me a lot different, not just because of age, but through those shared experiences I feel like that I have with them.
The other thing I wanted to ask you was, as a child, how did you respond to life, and what made you happy as a child?
I feel like most kids, my happiness was very simplistic. I think as a young boy, like it was even more simplistic. It was all video games, watching TV, and then also what's it called? Sports. Like those were the three things that I did the most of, and what kept me at peace. Even though I have siblings, like I always lived alone with my mother until one of my sisters was born when I was 12 and a half. So I was the only child in the home for a big majority of my childhood. So I think as a result, it shaped me through the rest of my life and through adulthood. I'm like crazy comfortable being alone. I think it's led me to be hyper independent. I would say not in an unhealthy way though, because I still know how to ask for help. And I'm not scared to ask for help if I need help. But I think most people, if they lived alone for the last 7 years, they would go crazy. Me, I just feel so much at peace. Like, I think I'm a introverted extrovert. So when I'm around people, I can be vibrant. I can tell a lot of jokes. I can be very social. But when I get home, or even if I get in spaces and maybe I don't feel like being super bubbly or talkative that day, I get a lot of peace just sitting in silence. There will be times that I'll be in my house and I'll go 3 hours with just me writing on my computer, like stuff on a manuscript, or scrolling through social media, or just laying down, chilling, whatever the case may be. A lot of people wouldn't be comfortable being that uncomfortable. But for me, I don't see that as uncomfortable. That's my comfort zone. So I think I've been having to do the opposite of most people that would view themselves as social. Is I've been having to get outside of my comfort zone and go do stuff. Like this week, I went to McDonald's All American game with some friends. Tomorrow, I plan on going to this Kaylani concert in this park that's close to where I live at, because she's performing for this like event that they do for the Final Four whenever they're in like different cities. They do like a free concert. So she's doing that concert. So yeah, I think that's kind of like how I've been shaped.
You can tell that where you got that party host energy from, because you had that already in you in childhood, and you already had that charisma and energy as a child. It's cool to see the origins of that.
Appreciate it.
Let's move on to masculinity. What does it mean to be a man, and like what does masculinity mean to you?
Man, I feel like that's such a loaded question.
I know.
I feel like you could say this about a lot of different areas. I feel like masculinity is like strength, but when I say strength, that's still a loaded word, because strength in what way? So I look at it as being able to be strong in a multitude of different areas while still like being at peace. So strength emotionally, strength financially, right? Strength mentally, strength physically. When I say physically, it means like you don't have to necessarily be Adonis or, Dave Hasselhoff and Baywatch, but physically from a standpoint of like you're physically capable of taking what life throws at you. All right. So I think that's kind of how I view masculinity. And I think, I won't say oddly enough, but I do think a lot of those same traits that people can find in femininity. I don't think it's a catch all like viewpoint.
Uh, how have like the journeys you've been on, right? Your author journey, your journey as a business owner, how has that like informed the kind of man that you are today?
I think that in general, all the things that I've done have built incredible amounts of mental fortitude. I think you could not have been on the path that I've been on in life without being able to combat adversity incredibly well. And that comes on multiple different levels. Just to spitball a few, right? Going out of state twice for college, all right? Which the second place is literally even farther than the first. Getting degrees in college, I think everyone's degree journey comes with some level of adversity. Writing a book, being in business, being open and willing to learn new things on the fly constantly, having moments where you really don't know which way is up. As much as the success I had in parties, and you can see it in the book, there were moments where it wasn't as all it cracked up to be. There were times where I really just, it's not all of the things that I'm willing to just ramble on, but there have been some tough moments. Losing my grandfather before I turned 12. That was someone I would say for a long time, and this is nothing against my dad at all, was the closest male figure in my life. I followed him around like a shadow. People called me Little Shorty, and he was Big Shorty. Like to this day, I know for sure there's certain things that I do, certain ways that I move, that I know I instinctually got from him. I remember when my mom, to her, how would I put it, angst, first let me go home by myself from school at the age of 12. A little bit, after my grandfather passed, actually. The only reason why I think that she was comfortable doing that is because there was like this little bird in her ear, like this person over her shoulder telling her, like, hey, he's ready. And I know I was ready because my grandfather. I caught the bus with him all the time. So as a 12-year-old, I knew the routes, I knew where to get off at. I was incredibly vigilant. I don't think my mom ever thought that someone was going to snatch me up or anything like that. She always jokes that I project my voice a lot. She's like, Lamar's loud. If someone tries to snatch him up, they're going to jail. Like, he's going to cause too much of a scene. They're going to be like, you know what, kid, you just stay here. I'm going to go off somewhere.
That's good though.
No, it is good, even though I'm joking about it. But yeah, I think all those things have shaped me into the guy I am today. All of these different people I've been able to interact with, all these different perspectives I've gained. And I find a lot of fun, even though I'm not the most exuberant person 24/7, is that I have so much more to go. Like, I don't even think I've truly scratched the surface. Sometimes when I tell people all the stuff that I've done, they're astonished at the fact that I'm only 29.
Well, you're still gonna go further than we think, right? You're still young. Let's get into the role of these male figures in your life, like your grandfather, your father. Like, um, how did how did these people like shape who you are as a man?
I would say my grandfather taught me strength in so many ways. He was in his 50s and he used to pick me up from school almost every single day. Mind you, my mom drives. She had no real obstacle of picking me up. She was also paying for aftercare. Grandfather didn't care. He still would pick me up after school. And a lot of times, because of where I went to school at, he would have to catch 2 or 3 buses to get me. And he would always show up like slightly after school let out. So it's not like I was a kid that used to have to wait an infinite amounts of times most of the times. And like he found so much joy out of that. I remember one time he fell asleep and he was so hurt that he fell asleep. And my mom was like, "It's okay, Daddy," because that's how they used to call him. Like you don't have to worry about it. And that wasn't his job. But like he did it just because he really, really, really enjoyed spending time with me. And us walking to the bus stop from school, doing different activities, watching TV, going to the hostess store around the corner. Like all that was his way of bonding with me. Even though we only were together 11 years, those are moments that I'll channel for the rest of my life. And it's a big reason why to this day, you know, I really hope to be a dad one day. I'm going to be super, super ecstatic to be a grandfather. It's one of the short list of accomplishments that have nothing to do with anything financial or anything like popularity driven, like a bestseller, anything like that, that I hold so deeply to my heart. And that's because of the impact that he had on me. That was my first best friend. That was my first role model. My dad. We've definitely had some rocky moments. I don't care to discuss really the rocky moments, but I never thought that I would be so appreciative of him at this point in my life. Like I said, I had my grandfather. I lived with my mom and grandmother until I left the house at 18. So it's not like I didn't have support, like consistent support, but most guys can probably admit this too. There's certain things that a woman can't teach a man as much as, all great moms want to. And I know there's some times where I just been worn out from life and just been going through it. And I've literally just cried on the phone with my dad. He never judged me. He consistently has always told me, even when I was 18, 19 years old, like, hey son, never feel afraid or scared of sharing anything with me. Like I'm here for you. I love you. He actually says I love you more than I do.
Oh,
And
that's really sweet.
we share the same name, so he's Lamar Smith Sr. I'm Lamar Smith Jr. Yeah, like that's my guy. Like for good, for bad, happy, sad, everything in between. Like he's not perfect, but man, he shows me so much love. It's ridiculous. Sometimes I probably am a little annoying because I get annoyed with all the IG reels he sends me, the TikToks or the Facebook posts or the parlays from FanDuel, but he enjoys like talking to me so much, and he always wants to know how I'm doing, uh, any new things that I'm doing in life. He's one of those people, and it's rare that he's very real about certain things that maybe he have or haven't done or wish he would have did growing up, or even just candidly like things that he faces, like at towards the end of his 40s, about to start his 50s next year, and his reward to all of that stuff is seeing me be successful. Like that's all he truly cares about. If he lives to see me, become a millionaire, turn all these dreams into reality, etc. Like that gives him fulfillment more than anything else. And I think that has really done wonders for our relationship. And even though we have crazy amounts of similarities from the fact that we both wear glasses, he's 3 inches taller than me, so we're almost the same height, similar builds. We both like the same sports, like both watch a lot of the same anime. It's crazy. His other kids show up, or my siblings show up, and first people thought is, oh, that's your son. Yeah, I would say both of them have helped me, in myriad different ways. Both have taught me a lot of strength and a lot of character, and genuinely, like from a character standpoint, there aren't too many guys that I've met in my life that are better than them. They aren't perfect, but like they're as real as it gets.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's really good that you have parents who love you and yeah, they want to see you be successful and they've instilled these good values in you. And I'm sure that's going to help you as well, like prepare you for your journey when you become a father and husband. And yeah, coming back to the inner child, how are you honoring your inner child today? Like that essence of who you are.
It's funny you say that. The first thing, as you asked me that question, the first thing I could think of is a quote that I saw Neo post. I want to say at least a decade ago. He posted something saying, and this is like directly what he said. He said, "Do something that your future self will thank you for." And I think naturally I live like that. And I would say if little Lamar, right, no pun intended, since I'm a junior, if little Lamar looked at older Lamar today, he would just be proud. Like he would know that everything that I've accomplished wouldn't be surprised in the slightest. He would be appreciative that I've learned. He would be appreciative of how much better I got in temperament, but I think part of that comes with age as well. And in my specific case, it came from doing Taekwondo for 8 years.
Wow.
So yeah, I think I've done a lot and I'll continue to do a lot where my today self will be proud and my future self will be proud knowing that, I was consistent with our identity and I always put myself in a position where if someone posted or shot a video, or whatever, like, oh, Lamar said this or did this, you'd be like, yeah, that's consistent with who we are.
I love that. Lamar, I want to say thank you very much for coming on the show. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate hearing your story and all you had to say. I learned a lot. And yeah, I want to say thank you also to my audience for coming out. And yeah, see you guys in the next episode.
Appreciate it.